Over to Aaron.
Do we need to wait? Are we going to
No.
kick it right off, Sean?
Let's do it. Top of the hour.
All right. Okay. All right. Very good. Welcome. I'm Aaron Jones. I am a carpenter and a builder on Grand Manan Island in New Brunswick. Welcome to BS&BEER Canada. We've got a room full of people here tonight that are going to tune in. Steve Basic here. The whole Hugh crew, which you may know. We get over this way. You may or may not know our foreign correspondent.
Evening, gents.
Voted the sexiest framer alive in Time magazine this year, Tim Mueller.
If you were wondering.
That's really all I've got, folks. It really doesn't get any better than this. I think, Sean, that I'm going to turn it over to you just as soon as I announce what I'm drinking. I've skipped beer. These guys are crazy. They drove me to drink. So I've gone straight to the 40 Creek Cherrywood Reserve, made in the Niagara region in Canada. It's a special edition. That's all we got.
Whoa. Going top shelf in Grand Manan. I don't know how they let those individuals across the border, and they're on the road trip with Huber Engineered Woods. I don't know if you haven't
It is
along.
Another story that we would have to dedicate an entire show to.
All I know is I appreciate that our foreign correspondent was picked up. Anytime you see his thumb up and potentially a sign that says we need more Big Red, please pick him up, folks. He can be a delightful sidewinder to hang out with you guys. So good stuff. Aaron, if you need to depart, you can. Have a great evening with all of our friends there. Enjoy the next couple of days with them. Thank you for giving them a great Canadian hosting privileges, all that fun stuff. Again, good times.
Well, I had to show up at least for the intro because Rob, our good Canadian friend, and it's official now, he is a Canadian friend, is going to put on this amazing presentation. I'm actually a little jealous that I'm going to miss it in person. Good news is you can catch this all later on YouTube.
Nice.
Sean,
Yeah,
you need to check and let Steve in. Steve wants in.
Oh, hey, sorry, I got multiple hats. I don't usually get to be the gatekeeper. Not my job, but it is mine tonight. All right.
There it is.
I know, crazy, right?
Steve's gonna join us. All right, for everyone else, I'm Sean Seymour. I get to play
with Steve
master
coming
coordinator.
In, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Sean, and
You got him in stereo.
A little echoey. Wow, 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 wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Thanks, Aaron. Great to see you. Great to see all the friends are having lots of fun and great details that again we will see soon enough on all those different social media features. So if you haven't seen what Aaron is doing, go check it out. Building a really beautiful house. The view is spectacular. Sometimes you see people popping out of the bush. It's kind of weird, but it does happen over there. Now what's really cool is so he's over there. I'm over here, and we're going to go around because some of us are not in our regular spots, and there'll be definitely some conversations later of what we're up to and the crazy projects we're involved in. But it is time to talk about thermal imaging cameras. It's pretty cool that I think it's really nerdy when we all get to bring out our toys. But that being said, I'm glad to be here. I've had to go hop into the beer league hockey beer, because this is left over. So nothing like going for a classic Budweiser, King of Beers.
Where the hell can I do
And
myself?
Connor, let's turn it over to you, bud.
Hey everybody, I'm Connor Malloy. I'm a designer, builder, and educator in Toronto, Ontario. I've given up beer for the month, so it's water for me right now, which is like, it's great actually, so it's glad to see everybody. Rob, I'm looking forward to what you're going to talk about. It's I think for us, teaching students at the college is really, blower doors where they can see air leakage is an exciting part of the building science journey, but also thermal imaging and taking them to a job site and actually looking for areas of heat loss and gain, and having them actually gamify, troubleshooting the envelope has been a really great exercise for them. So we're looking forward to tonight.
Yeah.
Justin, why don't you get to do the next hello?
Hi, I'm Justin with Element Construction. We are a custom home and renovation company out of Saskatchewan. I am actually coming to you from Baker Lake, Nunavut, which is geographically the center of Canada. And we are working on what's to be the first net zero home of Nunavut. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, looking forward to what Rob's got for us tonight.
So are you drinking water up there, or did
Oh.
you bring beverages, or what do you got? What do you got in that mug? In the
I
thermos?
am drinking fresh Baker Lake water that's coming from the Thelon River heading to Hudson Bay.
With a bit of elk poo. I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah.
Caribou. There's about
Sorry,
a herd of
caribou, wrong.
1,000 just outside of town right now.
All right. Polar bear poo, caribou poo, whatever. I'm sure it's yummy and fresh and flowing cold, and it's all good. Lori, how you doing? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
I'm doing okay. So I'm also breaking the rule. I have in this silly mug that has my daughter's face on it, I have fake coffee so that I psyched myself up to stay up late. Not really. So if you don't know me, I'm in Halifax on the East Coast, so it's just a little past 8 p.m. for me.
Yeah,
And
see myself on this.
oh, and I have missed the last few BS&BEERs because I was traveling and super busy in the summer. So I'm back and excited to be here. I also have my Fleur gadget, so I'm going to probably be playing around with it while I listen. And if anybody listening, ever since I got this, I have thought the best business would just be to drive around all winter and take shots of people's properties and send them a little unsolicited report and be like, can I help you? So it's an idea. I'm too busy to act on it, but maybe somebody will do it. Yeah. So
Well,
that's me.
I love how you're busy, and again, I appreciate that you actually got to go from that side of Canada to this side for the
I
Retrofit
did.
Canada conference and the Passos Canada conference. Great to since I didn't get to go, I appreciate it. I got the Coles notes from your visits and your journey, so we'll definitely connect more about that amazing stuff. All right, Thomas. Again, I'm on the water side. You're inland. Tell us where you're at and what's going on, buddy. Got to hit the unmute button.
So I'm Thomas. I'm here in the Fraser Valley. So I'm just a little ways away from where you are in the downtown area. I'm also on the water train this month. So I'm not drinking anything too special, just a little bit of water with some bubbles. But I'm really excited to hear Rob talk as well. I'm a thermal imaging nerd from way back. I love the technology. I use it every chance I possibly can. So I'm really excited to get a little bit of insight from somebody who knows more about it than I do.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's get into things. Rob, I'm so glad that I got to meet you in person at the FIAS conference in Chicago, and you had your camera and you were goofing around with stuff. And then, our good friend Mark, the foreign correspondent, talked about Thermal Thursday. We put up some images, and then all of a sudden, you, every Thursday, putting out an amazing post. If you don't know Rob,
I heard you out there. You didn't really like the.
thanks for the input, Steve. We appreciate it. I know Big Red definitely likes to mark details, so he might look at some of your pictures and put in some details. So, Rob, your LinkedIn account. So, if you're not connected with Rob, hit him up on LinkedIn, Instagram, all the great things. He is an architect and a student of construction.
She's the
I'm going to
internal
hit the
optimist. Like she just
pause
wants to see the
button
good in all
on Steve. Thanks, Steve. You get the mute. The gong mute button. That's what we're giving you. I'm talking about Rob here. It's about Rob tonight, not you, Steve. You can come on another time when you're not busy. Rob is an architect and student of construction and building science, His professional mission is to greatly reduce building energy use and carbon emissions to speed the way to a zero carbon economy. He also worked to improve quality in buildings, design, and construction, and he is the lead in his company, Building Performance Architect. Rob, the floor is yours. Love to hear what you got to say. Give us the goods, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks to everybody else. I think I'm probably going to learn a lot from you guys. If not tonight, then, at some point, because I already see a lot of expertise out here. So we shall see. Maybe you guys will tell me something I don't already know about what I'm presenting here.
So if you wanted
Yeah,
to
so I'm
simply-
Rob Hosken, and here's
Rob, let me
me.
just stop you for a second. If you
Yeah.
can just put into slideshow mode, so then we don't see
Yes.
your.
Slideshow mode. It worked. I think it works differently on
There we go. Looks good, bud.
Zoom than
Carry
it
on.
does on, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's all slick now at this point. And I do have beer because it seemed like an assignment. So this is good German beer, Franziskaner, one of my favorites. But anyway, yeah. Right. So I'm Rob, and I'm with Building Performance Architecture. I am Canadian. I was born in Toronto, and that's me. I actually just went back to Toronto in August and got my Canadian passport, which was a bucket list item for me to do. And then the other photo is where I grew up. I grew up in Wisconsin. And go Badgers. And I grew up in this passive solar house that my dad, who's not an architect, he just kind of caught on to the fad in the 1970s, in the late 70s, and decided to design a passive solar house for us. And from the early 80s on, I was seeing how you didn't have to pay for electricity or fuel at all and be warm in the winter. And basically, having grown up like that, I'm like, well, why aren't all the houses like this? And they're still not all like that, So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I then decided after a few years of college, I was like, well, I guess I got to be an architect, and I care about the environment, so I'm going to be a green architect and do green buildings. And that's where I've been headed, and I'm still heading in that direction, trying to get there. My company's Building Performance Architecture, and I think some of these catchphrases are what we already read from my LinkedIn profile. We do a lot of multifamily energy efficiency, and we do commercial building envelope commissioning, all of which involve infrared. So here's where we get nerdy. So my experience with infrared goes back to about 2008. And when I first started learning how to do residential energy audits, and we would do 2 infrared scans for every house. We did one with just natural pressure, and then we did one with the blower door turned on. So, after doing dozens of those, I kind of developed some practices on how to do it, and started giving presentations and stuff like that. And people have enjoyed it. So I guess I'll dive into the slides now. So first, we're going to cover some of the science behind infrared, and then we're going to get into the technology of infrared cameras and the different ways or the different things that I find with infrared, and then go a little bit more frou-frou into the communication, using it as a communication tool, and communicating messages about what we care about, using the fun images that we have. So this is something that I was thinking about recently, the science of the electromagnetic spectrum. And I was thinking about, why is infrared so great? Why can we get infrared images of just about everything? And it's because all objects that have a temperature that's above absolute zero produce infrared radiation. So basically, everything has an infrared signature. It's giving out infrared light, and infrared cameras can see it. Now, the other forms of radiation are, produced by lots more esoteric things like, black hole jets and supernovas, and we don't have those lying around in our backyards. So, but we do have objects above absolute zero. So, we can see a lot with the infrared cameras. And here's a diagram of how infrared cameras work. This makes it pretty simple. The lens focuses the infrared light onto a filter. The filter takes out the wavelengths that the camera doesn't want to look at. Then you have the bolometer. That's a fancy word for the infrared detector. And it basically measures the amount of infrared radiation at different small points on a grid, and translates that over to the image processor, the CPU, and the processor assigns a color and records the actual numerical data. And so it both produces a data record and a visual image, assigning a color to different levels of intensity of infrared light within a certain wavelength band. So the colors they don't correspond to different wavelengths of infrared light. They correspond to different amounts of a certain wavelength band, which kind of tells you temperature. And there is so much data that's represented in every infrared image. My camera has something like 400 by 300 pixels, so 120,000 data points, and a lot of information within that. So and here's kind of a rundown of the camera that I have, and this is basically just to let you guys see some of the options that you can get with infrared cameras. Other ones are going to have things that this one doesn't have, and vice versa. So yeah, mine's a FLIR E95. They don't make them anymore because those companies are always upgrading their products and their prices. Resolution is important to capture good images. The temperature range, that's pretty typical. You can get different fields of view. And so this one is a fairly wide field of view, which we like for building use, because we're not trying to hone in on a pinpoint little area. It's got an integrated visible light camera, so it takes a visible and an infrared image at the same time, which is really nice. Autofocus, manual focus, laser pointer comes in really handy on the construction site. I think some of you guys probably have used that. And yeah, some other things. The resolution enhancement is pretty cool too, because it takes something like 5 images at over a 5-second period, and then it kind of weaves them together to enhance the resolution, which is good. So you end up with a better resolution than just what the camera can take in a single shot. And then the different color palette options, which you'll see some of. Some more of the science. So thermograms only show apparent temperatures because it's all based on the intensity of radiation that's received by the sensor, and that doesn't differentiate between what's emitted from an object, which would be most relevant to its temperature, or what's transmitted through an object, or what's reflected off an object. So you kind of have to, as a thermographer, you have to think about all three of those and try to kind of filter out the effects of reflection mostly, and then also take into account how emissive the object is. So an object with a higher emissivity will have a truer temperature signal, or than an object with low emissivity. Low emissivity means basically more reflective. So like shiny things have low emissivity. That's kind of similar to why you might not want to have chrome finishes on hot things, because it holds in the heat rather than letting it out. So, and then on the right you see actually a kind of a demonstration of low emissivity versus high. So this is a situation when there's a duct and there's cold air being sucked in through the duct because I have a blower door fan on in the winter. And then there's tape wrapped around the duct there. So the duct looks like it's warm compared to the tape, but the duct has low emissivity. It's more reflecting the temperature inside the building, whereas the tape is high emissivity and it's representing more the true temperature of the surface. So that's an example of that. So why is thermography so useful? This is a case where it was pretty cool experience. They asked me to come over and help. There was a builder who asked me to come over and help them find areas that might be problems with air leakage in their homes, and they had me do that basically just so they could identify their weak spots and make sure they're taking care of them. So the guy there is up on a ladder, and I'm actually pointing a laser at these dark areas, which are cold air coming in through the sheathing. So IR is useful because it's a fast qualitative identification of several different building issues, which we'll look at. It works well as a communication tool, and there's a huge amount of data that you get. And if you know enough, which I don't necessarily know as much as other people about the science of it, but you can get a lot of insights and learn a lot from the information that you get with the camera. So here's some of the different things that we can see in buildings with infrared cameras, and there's just going to be a number of slides here showing examples. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions as I go, just let me know. But this first one is moisture under roof membranes. There's an ASTM standard that kind of lays out a standard process for finding it. And how it works is during the day, the sun is shining on a flat roof and it warms up If there's water under the membrane, the water holds the heat longer than the dry insulation does. And so you go up there after the sun sets and you see if there's warm spots. Sometimes they look like kind of blob shapes, and other times they actually kind of conform. If a whole insulation board is wet up to its edges, you know, it'll look like the shape of the board underneath. Water leakage, you know, a lot of times you can see the water and, you know, just with your eyes. Sometimes you can't, and the infrared camera will help with that because water evaporates and it looks cooler in the infrared image than the other things around it because the water is taking the heat out. So that's that. Then we have our favorite one, air leakage. And it's really easy to remember that streaks are leaks on the IR photo. So, you know, coupled with your blower door, you can see a lot. So who here has not seen a leaky recessed light fixture? Anyone? Probably everybody's seen that. And then over here on the right, this was something I spotted on one of my, I like to say, one of my walks that I take around town with my infrared camera at night, like everybody does, right? You know, we all just like to do that. And medical building on the University of Pittsburgh campus, and there's air coming out of the curtain wall. So, you know, I didn't contact this university about this issue. I'm not sure how receptive they'd be. I did have, I got a response from the University of Toronto, though, on something I found over there. So just as an incidental side note. Low insulation, kind of self-explanatory. There's another ASTM standard for that. On the left is a building at Carnegie Mellon University that I was doing envelope commissioning for. One of the last things was an infrared scan, and we found a place where they had just kind of forgotten to put insulation. So, and then on the right, it's not necessarily missing insulation, but this is something that we see too much of, which is the loss of gas fill in insulating glass units. And the more you look, the more you'll see of this stuff. And the window companies all say it's not a problem. So thermal bridging on the left is a masonry building where the brick relief angles are showing through. And then on the right is a regular wood framed house where they didn't put any continuous insulation on, and you can see kind of the ghostly lines of the wall studs coming through the siding. Some non-envelope things are mechanical and electrical issues. On the left is a great big air handler on top of a school. And you know, if you're walking on the roof, you might not really think too much about the fact that this little access door has a little gap around it, but looking at it with the infrared camera looks quite a bit different. So that's all air that the mechanical unit is processing and using energy to heat up, and it's just coming out the door there. I think it's actually supposed to come out these vents on the side. So And then a lot of people now are using infrared to do inspections of PV systems. So they should not be overheating. And I think this is my last example. So on the left, this is insulation jacketed plumbing pipes. They might be actually HVAC system pipes. And the insulation jacket has got to have some gaps in that are letting warm air through, and it's condensing on the cold pipes and dripping down to the bottom of the insulation layer. And then on the right is it already says it's a pest issue. So we were in a house, and it was a coworker of mine who was buying this house, and he wanted to do an infrared scan. And I was like, well, why is there a warm spot there? That's just weird. You know, the sun's not like focusing its rays, you know, on that one spot. There's nothing else there. So we go up to it and we bang on the wall, and we hear this like scuttling and running away. So there was some kind of squirrel or something nesting in there. All right, so that's the end of that section. Could take a little breather here and just think a little bit about what you guys have seen. And I can also just keep moving. So I'm going to start to talk about infrared as a communication tool, and something I came up with previously. Thermography and neuroscience are friends, because infrared images, just with the, you know, how colorful they are and how dynamic they are, they really grab your attention. And so these are two book covers. Thinking Fast and Slow is about the two different systems in our brains, one being more of the reptile brain that does quick reactions to things, and the other is the more analytical part of the brain that, you know, is able to think carefully about the information that that you're getting. But in order for the analytical side to start thinking about something, it has to receive it from the what we're going to call the gator brain side. And the key to influencing somebody or getting a message across is to grab their attention, you know, grab the attention of the fast thinking part of the brain. I think this might be out of order. Okay, yeah. So how people's brains process information, the gator brain and the judge brain. The gator's not gonna, you got to get the attention of the gator. So the gator's not going to move unless there's something that it's interested in right next to it. And that's what infrared images do for us. And it has to give input to the judge to have the, you know, the judge be able to process the information and think about it and analyze it. Okay. So did you guys see that last slide? I skipped over it real fast. Did it get your attention? All right. So here's another one. So this is an infrared one, not a scary gorilla, but it also gets your attention. And so, you know, getting people's attention with the images really helps to communicate, you know, and we use infrared as a tool to make energy efficiency visible and tangible, something that people can experience more on a physical level than just like a verbal level. So, here are the steps. It grabs your attention. You start to think about this as a thermal image. And then the judge starts to take over. Now that we've got your attention, you can start to think about, okay, what is it that we're seeing here? This building here, actually, visually, it's probably my favorite building in the city of Pittsburgh. But on the infrared side, it's not my favorite building in the city because, it's got some pretty crazy stuff going on. So it's easier to relate to things that you can see for yourself. And now that your attention is focused on something, you can reach conclusions and learn something from what you're looking at. And we're seeing and feeling building science rather than just hearing about it. And here's kind of my adventure into like what Sean was talking about, how I got to doing Thermal Thursdays. So like I said, I've been doing infrared thermography for like 15 years. And I'd always see things that were pretty cool as I was going around, taking pictures of air leakage or missing insulation or something like that. And then I'd turn the camera somewhere else and there'd be this really cool looking chandelier or, something like that. And I guess I probably have, a little bit of an artistic side. So, that's kind of meaningful to me. And this image here was something that caught my attention on a night when I was out doing a exterior infrared scan of a passive house apartment building, looking at the building, doing my job, trying to document, how good it is for the FIAS certifiers. Turn the camera around and I see these trees, and the trees are glowing in infrared light, compared to the scene around them. And it's like, wow, those trees, you can see that they're alive. They look like they're kind of standing next to each other. It's a pretty amazing image. I was like, okay, I got to share this photo. And so I started to do that. And just, it became a hobby, I guess. And every image, I could talk for another 10 minutes about this photo itself. We could have an interesting discussion about how, how trees emit heat, how they're, bringing up heat from below the ground, and, getting into all the, intricacies of plant life and stuff like that. There's so much information that just one image can convey, and also the physics of it. Each pixel could be influenced by reflection or emission or transmission, and there's a lot to think about, just in trying to interpret. We can talk about, like I said, a wide range of topics. And it also makes the messages that I want to talk about, it makes them easier to absorb by giving somebody something to look at while I'm telling about what I want to talk about. Yeah, so I think this is getting close to the end, and I'm just going to, show a few of the images that might be interesting. I think people have seen this one before. So which building is the passive certified building? It's the blue one, right? So this is an Interfit certified commercial building. I think it's one of just a few that's been done in North America so far. In the town of Kane, Pennsylvania, up in northwestern PA. And then here's one that I haven't shown before. So my daughter graduated from Ithaca College last December, and I used that occasion to take one of my walks. So this is one of the nice residences there. So what do you guys see here that strikes you as being interesting? Somebody jump in.
Rob, you know me, I love seeing the X's.
Oh
So
yeah.
seeing material between glass and framing.
Uh-huh.
But then of course when you, like you said before, is when you see the kind of blotchiness, those kind of wind marks of what's happening on those particular walls.
Yeah, that is
I'm looking at the clouds. The
right.
reflection, the different colors of those clouds are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're having a party in one room.
They might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't going to ascribe that to people. I was going to try to ascribe that to different glass in the window. But you're right. You never know exactly. Maybe there's 20 people in there, having a good time. So, and here's another one. I think this might be my last one. A building in Pittsburgh that I actually worked on back before I started doing energy efficiency stuff. So there's something going on there with heat. Got a 3-story building and 3 layers of heat coming through the building envelope over on the left-hand side there. So some kind of defect is happening that if the owner was interested and if I felt like they wouldn't just get mad at me for showing this to them, maybe we could do something about it. Yeah, and that's it. Here's a fun one for you. Taken at my house. There's cold air coming in through the door there. I need to put a sweep on my door, and I don't know if there's anything else interesting in that photo.
So was that a cat door? And was the cat waiting to go out because there's the cat's bum on the floor? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah,
Did
you
I
got
get it?
the cat tail, the cat butt, and the cat paws.
But there's no cat. So where did the
Yeah.
cat go?
I don't
Because that
know.
is the question.
Yeah. And this is a lot of this is really just kind of fun for me, but people enjoy it, and I'm glad that people enjoy it. For 2024, I did a calendar. I'm going to do another one for 2025, but it's not out yet. But that QR has the website. So if you go to the website, you'll see there's nothing there, but there will be at some point soon. And
That's
that's
great,
it.
Rob, because I actually just posted your 2024 because I again it's a beautiful calendar, and so I found the Etsy link and put it in the chat for people to look at from last year's because it's pretty spectacular. So great work. We'll go to questions. I know Thomas had one earlier on, and there might be one more. So, Thomas, this is an earlier on question. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, there's a couple pictures where it looks almost like blurriness that's kind of coming out around some of the openings on some of the windows.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if that's what they're referring to when I hear this term feathering.
Uh-huh. Let's see if I can see. Is it one of the ones that I showed?
Yes, it was one of the first couple of thermal images that you showed there of the buildings.
Okay. Uh, all right, I'm gonna share again, but I have to get to the share button. Here we go. Okay. Does this look like the one?
So it's number 11.
Oh. Just stop me.
Yep. That one.
This one or the one before? This one?
right, that one right here.
Yeah.
So like even around that pot light, so we know it's air movement, right? But is that what they refer to when they're calling something feathering?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably just, you know, a description of what the air leakage looks like. I like to call them streaks, but somebody might say feathering.
Well, and same too, like with the image on the right, like where some of the where you can see some of the heat coming through in the cladding in between the glazing system. Up at the top of the building, it kind of looks like it's kind of like trickling up in this like kind of
Yeah.
like blurring up. And I know I've heard the term feathering around these conversations so many times. I'm just wondering if that's if that's exactly what they're referring to.
That sounds right to me. Yeah, I think people just, you know, kind of use words that seem right to them. So, yeah.
I can tell you, Rob, I had heard you say streaks are leaks before, and that kind of resonated with my students, but not everything I say is remembered exactly. And we're on a job site, they go, what are you saying? There's a thing up here, you called them skid marks. I can see a skid mark over here. I'm like, well, it is a streak, and I guess that is a leak of types. But yeah, like that's stuck with me. It's this class calls those skid marks.
It's definitely memorable.
It is, yeah, it's like an air leak skid mark. That's right.
It's something you don't want to see, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, Connor, you know, when you were talking about having students, that reminded me, well, we'll see. I don't know if I should talk about it as if it's a sure thing, but I'm looking at moving to a building where there's going to be a couple of different organizations doing training programs. So even though my business is not running those trainings, it'll be fun to be around them, I think.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can kind of see, as an expert in your field, you kind of forget where that person is just entering this space on
Yeah.
what they find exciting, what problem they're trying to solve, and where they get stuck. And that's what makes kind of teaching fun, and hearing and being around those people, right? It's how do I consistently try to articulate what I think is important to this person in this moment, right? Teaching IR 15 years ago is different than it is teaching it now. And
Right.
I think that's going to be the case in another 5-10 years.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And I want to get back to Toronto in the winter.
There's a lot of opportunity here. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity everywhere.
Right.
I'm curious if I don't know if anybody on the call is, thinking about buying their first, piece of equipment for doing thermal imaging. If you have any advice, like when I bought mine, I literally bought the one that was at the store close to me. And it seems like it does what I need it to, but there's definitely more options now.
Yeah. The way I got my first one was it ResNet? I think it was ResNet that had a standard of what a camera had, like the resolution that the camera had to have. for doing residential work, and it was a not as high resolution of a camera that I have now. So basically, I got something that was kind of prescribed. And in terms of, I don't know, I feel like I just use the camera that I have. I don't know that much about all the different brands and stuff like that, but I know there's a lot of good stuff out there. From the small attachments to your iPhone, all the way up to professional scientific grade cameras. So yeah.
Well, it's nice to have different options, because again, different options, different price points, and then be able to see where you need to. I mean, I think if most people would walk around with you and the camera, you'd be able to really just be aware of just some of those issues. I mean, I think before we got into thermal imaging camera, the only time we got to see real kind of leaks was on a frosty morning where you can just see the roof trusses and joists popping through the roofs. And or I mean, here in Vancouver there's a couple of buildings that have a bit of mold dust on the side of the buildings on the stucco, and you can see where the studs are versus insulation. But it's nice to have the camera to be able to find those leaks, especially on a blow door test where sometimes you can't, you feel something, but then you pull up the camera and you're like, okay, there it is, there's the culprit, and it's kind of tucked in behind something, and you're just feeling the little bit of the airflow in the back of your hand. So it's a great tool to have.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Armand, do you got a question?
Hey, yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Armand from a Vancouver company called Properate. So, somewhere near Burnaby, not too far from Sean.
Yeah.
We make software for energy efficiency. Rob, this was really a really interesting presentation, and I have two questions for you. The first one is there a thermography course that you would recommend? Like the shorter, the better. Like what is the most effective
Shorter the
info
better.
out there? And the second is, have you ever used your thermal camera for calculating the R value of a wall or a roof? And in that sense, how accurate was it?
Yeah, okay, good questions. So in terms of courses, the Infraspection Institute, like infrared, but infraspection, does trainings. And then the Infrared Training Center, which is FLIR's training arm, also does courses. So I know that the FLIR one, the Infrared Training Center, they're not short. They're like several day certification training. And the certifications are level 1, level 2, and level 3 thermographer. But yeah, I'm sure there are some shorter ones out there. And then for trying to calculate R values with the infrared camera, I probably have tried. I'm not remembering like a specific time when I did that. But I'll say like most often now, I pretty much use the camera for qualitative analysis rather than quantitative. And there are definitely the protocols that you should be doing if you want to get accurate quantitative numbers. And honestly, like most of the time I don't like kind of calibrate the camera to the mean radiant background temperature and all these kinds of things, because I'm looking for issues rather than trying to get numbers. I have tried to be accurate in some situations, like when I'm trying to show like an accurate temperature difference between like something that's conducting heat. Like I ran into something where we were concerned about potential condensation on steel that was passing through a building envelope. And so try to be more accurate on that.
Armin, I feel like if you were able to meet with Rob, pay him a couple of beers, you'll get one of the best lessons you'll ever could afford. So next time you're in Rob's vicinity, ask him a few things because it's remarkable. Like again, not too many people just walk around with a camera, and I mean we walked around Chicago for a little bit there, and it's remarkable. Like again, the things you can't see with the naked eye, but you see with the camera, you quickly learn about just all kinds of things. Like again, even to just aiming a camera and getting reflections off glass or materials, and just being able to just know differences. I mean, I think that's neat about the building science world is when you put the camera on a building, you do start to see a lot of the similarities between material types and, R values and wall thicknesses, and you start to get those patterns. And once you have that experience of patterns, then you know kind of what you're looking for because, kind of works out. Like again, you look at a wall that doesn't have outsulation to a wall that doesn't. I mean, you're looking at something very different, and then being able to look at the thermal bridges. Yeah. I feel like Rob is really the little kid from the movie Sixth Sense that, instead of I see ghosts, I see thermal bridges. I think Rob is really the candidate for that new image now. So
Yeah. I'm just having fun with it.
yeah. Well, again, I mean, it is fantastic to see the images. I think the tree one, I agree with you. I mean, you talk about the connection to what is happening in a tree and the connection between trees, and some really cool recent books that kind of talk about that connection. But when you see that image, you really get what's happening, behind things. So,
Yep.
yep.
Great.
Any other questions? Tim had a lovely appreciation for your presentation. We only got a couple minutes left because unfortunately I got a bit of a hard stop tonight because transitioning from BS&BEER to softball coach dad stuff. So
Nice.
and I know Lori, we're we're keeping her up here. So luckily
It's
it's
that time.
fascinating
Oh
stuff
no,
though.
it's okay. This was fun. All the,
Yeah.
my gator brain, was keeping up with all the colors. So
Awesome.
Sean,
Well, thanks, guys.
can you bring your camera to the ball game to see which kid is running the fastest?
Oh yeah. Or actually which one's working the hardest? That's definitely
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
like
I think he would be
who's
the
the one
hottest. He
that's
might not be the fastest. He might be the most out of shape.
yeah, there's a bit of that
Okay.
too.
Okay.
all
Maybe
that
friction on
kind
the
of stuff.
bat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, if I'm shunning at the aluminum one versus, the composite, there'll be some interesting insights. So Rob, we will see you, I guess, some future events that's coming up for you. Sorry, the Green Build Fiascon connection, or are we gonna see you in Philly in November?
I think I'm skipping Philly and I'm not decided about Providence yet.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well, I'm sure like else we'll see you sooner than later, my friend.
yeah.
60 seconds on the clock, folks. Any last comments? Peter says thank you. Great presentation. Absolutely. Again, for those that either came late or missed it, we'll have it on YouTube in a few days. I'm manning control, so I need to send the recording over to Gina, and she'll post it as soon as she can. Otherwise, to the crew here at BS&BEER Canada, great to see you all. For guests that joined us, again, thanks for hanging out with again the real Thermal Thursday, Rob Hosken. And if you can't get enough of him, well, sorry, every Thursday he's going to put out some really cool photos and even too like the write up in the dialogue that you post in there too. It's not just a picture, folks. There's a good description of what's happening in his images. And again, if you're paying attention, the tune that he posts with it definitely captures the image of what's being there. So it's a great post every Thursday. So thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you.
Rob.
All right.
See ya.
All right,
Nice to
everyone.
see y'all.
We will be back next month, the third Thursday of October. That'll kind of follow after Thanksgiving. So hopefully your bellies will still be full and you'll have a beverage to maybe keep you a little awake and hopefully won't have leftover turkey that evening. But we'll see what happens in October. I don't know who is going to join us, but like every month, somebody special, just like Rob. So we'll see you guys all soon. Enjoy your night. Take care.
Yeah.
Safe travels. Keep working hard, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye now.
guys.
Thanks.
Night.